Hello and welcome to FAAAC's celebration of Martin Luther King's 92nd birthday. Today we're going to give you one wonderful hour of storytelling. I will be doing storytelling along with the wonderful Mrs. Elsie White. She will be doing storytelling and we will be alternating. So you'll get a little bit of me and a little bit of her. And my name, by the way, is Nancy Tolson. And I am connected to the Columbia Museum of Art because I am a docent here, because I love art. And storytelling is definitely an art. I want to tell you a little bit about the storytelling factor of South Carolina. Folk tales, folklore has been something that has been rich in the state of South Carolina for a very, very long time. We have had many people come throughout the years, for the past 100 years, looking at and investigating and doing research on storytelling. Zora Neale Hurston was here, and also her mentor, who was Elsie Clues Parsons, who both were anthropologists, who actually did a lot of research here in the Gullah area, which is the Low Country, and throughout South Carolina. One of the stories that Elsie Clues Parson actually wrote about, I'm going to tell you right now, and it was called, please excuse my language, but Three Damn Fools. Now, there was a traveler who was traveling his adventure through life, and he was walking through this one town, and in this one town he discovered that, he was feeling a little parched and he was feeling a little hungry. Well, he thought that, of course, the hospitality of the folks would be so wonderful, so he went to the first house and knocked on their door. He knocked on their door and he said, hey, is it possible I could get a little bite to eat? Well, the father, the mother, and their daughter were so happy and so hospitable, they sat him out a table out on the porch. They brought him some good old warm biscuits. And they had the butter right there and a big pitcher of sweet tea. Yes, they did, sweet tea. And so he was so elated from it. The girl, the daughter, she was so enamored by the man. She was so excited, and she was, she couldn't take her eyes off of him. And all of a sudden, the mother said, you know what, I think he would like a little bit of syrup. So he said, go on in and get some syrup. So the girl went into the kitchen and got some syrup. But before she left, she started thinking about what she would name her children when the two of them got married. Would they be, well, if it was a boy, it would be either Elroy, Delroy, or Leroy. But if it was a girl, Rowena. Oh my goodness, she pondered after it so much, she decided to just sit right down and think about it and dream about what the name of her children would be. Well, outside, they were still eating the biscuits, wondering what happened to the daughter. So the mother, she got up. She went into the kitchen. She said, why are you sitting there with the syrup? We need to take that syrup outside. The daughter said, I couldn't help it. I was thinking about what we're going to name our children. Oh, those children we're going to have. If it's a boy, it's going to either be Elroy, Delroy, or Leroy. But if it's a girl, it's going to be Rowena. Mother said, that is a thought. Let's think about that. So the mother sat down and was sitting there thinking about, what those children's names would be. Well, the father was feeling a little awkward. He didn't know what was going on, but he kept eating those biscuits, had a good time with the butter and the sweet tea, and talking to the stranger, because the stranger had so many wonderful, adventurous tales to tell. But he was getting a little uncomfortable, knowing that the two of them were not back yet. So he goes into the house, goes to the kitchen. He sees his wife and his daughter sitting at the table, and he said, what is wrong with the two of you? Why aren't you out there and giving that man that syrup? And the daughter says, Daddy, I'm so sorry, but I'm so excited because I keep thinking about what the name of my children going to be with him when we get married. And he said, what? She said, yes, I'm thinking maybe boy, it would be Elroy, it would be Delroy, or it would be Leroy. And for the girl, Rowena. The father said, that is a thought. And he too sat at the kitchen table, and they were all thinking, what would those babies' names be? Well, the stranger was feeling really uncomfortable. He didn't want to eat all the biscuits. He wanted to leave some for the women folks because after all, they had been in there a long time, and he thought it'd be nice to leave them some because he was good company. But he was feeling uncomfortable. So he got up, and he went into the kitchen, and he saw all three of them sitting there pondering. He said, what's going on? Was it something I did? And they said, oh, no, I'm sorry. No, I'm so sorry. And the daughter said, I'm sorry, but I was thinking about what I was going to name our children once we got married. Either if it was a boy, Elroy, Delroy, or Leroy. And if it was a girl, Rowena. The stranger looked at them. He said, you all are some crazy damn fools, and I'm going to leave. And they said, what? You going to leave? She said, but what about us getting married? He said, well, I'll tell you this. If I run across 3 more damn fools out there, then I'll come back and I'll marry you. Okay, look forward to seeing you. Now she had something else to think about, getting her a pretty fine wedding dress. Well, he started walking, and he saw this man, as he was walking, had strung his pair of pants across 2 trees, and he was jumping, trying to get in them. He kept seeing him jump, leap up, fall over, and start again. He would run further and further back and come up, jump, fall over, never getting into the pants. So the man walked up to him. He said, excuse me, sir, what are you trying to do? He said, I'm trying to get into my pants. Generally, I start a little bit earlier. I can get into them probably about noon, but it depends on how the wind blows. The stranger said, mister, he clipped off both sides of the strings. He said, this is how you get in the pants. And he showed him just how to slip those pants right on. Drawstring, no zipper. Anyway, he did that. He said, goodness gracious, that's one damn fool. So he kept walking. He kept walking, and finally he saw a man, and the man had a wheelbarrow. And he would stand there in the sun and then go, run into the house, shut the door, and then open the door, come back out, run with the wheelbarrow, hit the sun, and run back in. Stranger said, what is wrong with this one? He walked to him. He said, excuse me, sir, what are you doing? He said, well, I just washed the floors in my house, and I want to get them dry, so I go out, I get a little bit of sun, I bring it back in and have it warm up the house and make it dry. Make it dry. Is that why your windows are closed? Your doors closed? He said, yes, sir, just do it. Get the sun and take it right on in with the wheelbarrow. Man said, if you open up the windows, each of the windows, open up the door, you'll be able to dry your house in no time. That's a clever idea. And that's exactly what he did. The stranger shook his head and said, that's 2 fools. And so he kept on walking. He kept on walking until he saw a man with a catapult. Now, a catapult, and he was putting his cows in the catapult and throwing them up the tree. It wasn't very successful. He was throwing them up the tree. He said, this is not really happening. The stranger was like, I can't believe this is going on. So he walked up to the man. He said, sir, what are you actually doing right now? He said, I'm feeding my cows the moss from the trees. He said, if I throw them up there, they can and bring it back down. Have you ever thought, sir, if you just pull the moss off yourself and hand it to them, they could be fed? What? Oh, what? Oh, you's a clever man. Ooh. And right after that, the man shook his head, turned around, and walked back to get married and live happily ever after to either his boys, Elroy, Delroy, or Leroy. But if it's a girl, Rowena.
Hello. I'm going to share a story with you today entitled Uncle Bookie and T. Melise. Now, this story is one of the favorite stories of Augusta Baker. That's why I want to share this story with you. Uncle Bookie and T. Melise were neighbors, and they had a farm. And one morning they got up, and they were going to go out and cultivate some corn. So they got their shovels, and they went to the garden. And just before they left, Uncle Bookie's next door neighbor, Uncle Guinier, told Uncle Bookie, I just cut down a tree, and my tree had a beehive in it with lots and lots of honey, and I don't know what to do with all this honey. So I poured a whole big gourd full of honey for you, and you can have it. Uncle Bookie said, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. There was nothing more in this world that he liked better than honey. So he took that gourd and he hung it in the rafters of his house. T. Melise was his little godson, and T. Melise liked honey also. So T. Melise said, Uncle Bookie, before we go out in the field, let's go and have us a glass of honey before we go to work. And Uncle Bookie said, no, I'm saving this for a special occasion. It's going to either be for Christmas or for Dessalines Day. Well, now, Dessalines Day over in Haiti is the same thing as our 4th of July. So he said, well, we're going to save this for a special occasion. So let's go and finish our work in the field. So they went to the field, and all T. Melise could think about was that honey in that gourd back up there in those rafters. I mean, he was trying to dig and cultivate that corn, but he couldn't keep his mind on anything except that honey. After a while, Melise said, whoa, somebody's calling me. Uncle Bookie said, well, I didn't hear anybody call you. I just heard a dog barking over there in the field. It sure didn't sound like he was calling your name. He said, listen, he called my name again. Uncle Bookie, I got to go see why they calling me. Melise threw down his hoe, and he started running down the road. He was running fast and fast and fast, and as soon as he got over the hill, he looked back, and he couldn't see Uncle Bookie. He made a left turn and went to Uncle Bookie's house, and when he got in there, he went up to those rafters, took out that gourd, went in the kitchen and got him a pitcher of water, cool water, and a glass, and he poured him some honey and some water in the glass. And boy, he sat there and he drank that honey and that water. It was so good and cool and sweet. Then next thing you knew, he went and got him another glass full, and another glass full, and another glass full. Pretty soon, his belly was full. He said, oh, I better get back to the field. So he went back to the field. When he got back there, Uncle Bookie had this serious look on his face. Where have you been so long? He said, oh, Uncle Bookie, I'm sorry. He said, my friends had to call me because they just had a baby, and they wanted me to baptize the baby and give the baby a name. And Uncle Bookie said, oh, a baby? I like babies. Was the baby a girl or a boy? Melise said, oh, the baby was a girl. He said, well, what did you name her? He said, I named her Debut. Well, in Creole language, debut means the beginning. He said, wow, what an awesome name. How did you come up on a name like that? He said, I just thought of it right here in my head. So he said, all right, let's go back to work. So they went back to work, and after a while, they were through and they went home for the night. The next day, they had to go back to the farm. They picked up machetes because they were going to do the south part of the farm this day. There were a lot of weeds and brambles that they had to get rid of. So while they were down there working on the second day, cutting the brambles and getting rid of the weeds, after a while, Melise said, Uncle Bookie, somebody just called my name. Uncle Bookie said, I didn't hear anybody call your name. He said, yes, they did. Can't you hear? Uncle Bookie took his ear and he shook his ear. He said, my ears must be dying. I didn't hear anything except a lamb bleeding over there on the other side of the hill over there. He said, Uncle Bookie, I'll be right back. I got to go see what they want. Melise took off running down the road, got over the hill, looked back. He couldn't find Uncle Bookie, so he made a left turn, went to Uncle Bookie's house, climbed up on those rafters, took down that gourd again, got him a big pitcher of cool water and a glass, and mixed it up. And boy, he sat there and he drank. He fixed him another glass, and he fixed him another glass. After a while, his belly was full. He said, oh, I better get back to the field. He went back to the field. Uncle Bookie was standing there. What took you so long? He said, Uncle Bookie, he said, my name must be getting around. I had to go baptize and name another baby. Uncle Bookie said, another baby? He said, yeah. Uncle Bookie said, well, what was the baby this time? He said, oh, this time the baby was a boy. Uncle Bookie said, oh, I like baby boys. He said, what did you name him? He said, I named him Demi. Well, in the Haitian language, Demi means halfway. He said, oh, you keep coming up with these wonderful names. I'm just impressed with your imagination with these names, Melise. He said, okay, let's get back to work. So they went back to work. The next day, they were on the other side of the farm, and they had the machetes and the hoe. They were really working this day, and they worked, they worked and worked till it was about 12 o'clock in the day. The sun was really high. Melise did it again. Uncle Bookie, did you hear somebody call me? Uncle Bookie said, I didn't hear a thing. I heard some dogs barking over there, but they didn't sound like they were saying Melise. He said, listen, Uncle Bookie, they calling me. I got to go see what they want. Uncle Bookie, he said, my ears must be dying, because I swear I didn't hear nothing. Melise took off running down the road, got over the hill, looked back. He didn't see Uncle Bookie. He made a left turn, crawled up to the rafters, took down that gourd, had his pitcher of water in his glass, and he poured him some honey and water, and he started drinking. That good old sweet honey on that hot day, it was so good. He poured him another glass and another glass. And by the time he got to the fourth glass, he picked up that gourd, and nothing came out. He said, oh, my goodness. He took his tongue, and he licked it around that gourd as far as he could get it. Then he took the gourd and licked it all around the edges to make sure that he got every drop of honey off that gourd. So then he goes back to the field. And he gets back to the field. Uncle Bookie said, what took you so long this time? Melise said, well, Uncle, I just done got to be so famous, I had to go baptize another baby and name another baby. Uncle Bookie said, another baby? He said, yes, Uncle, another baby. He said, well, what was the baby this time? He said, oh, a cute little bouncing baby girl. Uncle Bookie said, well, what did you name her? He said, I named her Seche. Well, Seche in the Haitian language means dry. He said, oh, I just have to give it to you, Melise. You can really come up with some beautiful names, beginning, halfway, and dry. Uncle Bookie said, well, you know, we've been working for 3 or 4 days, and you really want some of that honey. Let's go back to the house, and we'll fix us a cool glass of honey. Melise said, okay. They go back to the house. Uncle Bookie goes in, gets the pitcher of water, climbs up on the rafters, pulls down the gourd, holds up the glass, holds up the gourd. Nothing comes out. Uncle Bookie looked. There was not a wet spot of honey in that gourd anywhere. Uncle Bookie took his finger and ran it around the edge of the gourd. It didn't even taste like honey. He looked around. He said, Melise, the honey is gone. Melise. Melise. Melise was nowhere to be found. Uncle Bookie said, something ain't right. Beginning, halfway, dry. Beginning, halfway. I know that boy Melise done took my honey. Uncle Bookie goes out of his hut, around there to Melise's hut. Melise done already jumped in the bed, pulled a cover up over his head, and got his feet hanging out. Uncle Bookie crawled in Melise's hut on his hands and knees and got right up to Melise's feet, opened his mouth wide. He clamped down on Melise's right big toe. Melise jumped up. Ah! Uncle Bookie, what you doing? What you doing? Turn me loose, Uncle Bookie, Uncle Bookie. Uncle Bookie said, debut. And when he opened his mouth to say debut, he opened his mouth wide and clamped down on the other foot. By now, Melise was really hollering, oh, Uncle Bookie, you killing me, you killing me. I can't stand the pain, you killing me. Uncle Bookie said, to me. And when he said to me, he opened his mouth wide, but Melise jumped up out of that bed before Uncle Bookie could clamp down on another set of teeth, and Melise flew out the door. Uncle Bookie got up and went to the door, and he looked around, and he said, that Melise, he took my honey. Debut, Demi, and Seche. Melise yelled back, Uncle Bookie, you might be the godfather to Debut, to Demi, but you sure ain't gonna be the godfather to Seche. I'm gone. The end of that.
That was so, so good. I just knew one of those girls' names was going to be Rowena. I just knew it. I was like, Rowena. Well, there once was a tailor, and this tailor was the tailor of the village. Now, he was a good tailor, and he did a lot of work, but the one thing that he wasn't able to do was to make himself a really fine coat. And all he wanted was just a coat that was just for him. He wanted to have a coat that fit him well, looked good on him, and just made him feel good about himself. But he never had time. So you know what he decided? He decided he was going to make time. So he took off one day, and he went to the village that had all the fabric, where all the fantastic weavers were. And he went to the village, and he looked around in each stand and looked to see in the marketplace what fabric he was going to choose for his coat. Well, he looked around, and he looked around, and he looked around until one piece of fabric called his name. Now, all this time, he knew exactly how many yards of fabric he needed. So he found the fabric. The fabric looked good against the skin. Oh, and it felt really good. He also found the lining. Oh, it was beautiful. It was kind of a brocade. Oh, it was absolutely beautiful. And so he grabbed the fabric for the coat and for the lining. He went and bought the thread, and he also bought the buttons. Now he went home. He took time every evening to do this coat. He had measured himself. He had measured himself. He had measured himself so many times just to make sure that this coat was going to be perfect. Now, He made it. He made that coat. He made that coat. He made that coat with love. Love, 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 love. And he sewed it every night and just made sure to guarantee that the arm length was perfect. The lapels were great. The buttons and the fit, oh, it was going to be great. Well, he finally finished. And it was perfect timing because it was starting to become winter. So he put the coat on and he buttoned it up and he went outside. He walked outside, and when he walked outside, people said, oh, that is a beautiful coat. Oh, my goodness. What a coat. That coat is fantastic. That coat, wow, where'd you get the coat? He said, I made the coat. You made the coat? I want a coat like that one. Oh, my goodness. Oh, you made that coat? That coat is fantastic. You got it going on with the coat. The coat was beautiful. He had so many orders for coats. Woo! He was busier than ever, and he's so glad that he had that coat because it did really look good on him. So he wore that coat all winter. He wore that coat, he wore that coat, he wore that coat out until basically it was a little thready and shabby and, you know, just threads all over. And so he decided it was finally time to retire the coat. So he put the coat on the table. And he looked at the coat. He said, you know what? I have just enough fabric to make a jacket. Well, he picked up and looked at all the things and the material that he had. He cut out some of it. He embroidered the bottom and used the other pieces in this beautiful tapestry almost in the bottom of the jacket. He made the jacket in a little bit of different style, but you know, he made sure to keep a little bit further so it covers his butt because you know it's kind of big. But anyway, he had made that jacket. That jacket was so good. It was spring. And so he walked outside with his jacket on. He walked outside with that jacket on and he was looking good. Oh, he was looking good. He was looking so good. People said, hey, where'd you get that jacket from? Wow, that jacket looks nice. Oh my goodness, where you get that jacket? Whose jacket? You made that jacket? Oh, I want one. I want one. Oh, that jacket. Wow. He was so glad he wore that jacket. Now he's making coats. He's making jackets. Woo, and he's walking around still looking good with that jacket on. And he's wearing that jacket, and he's wearing that jacket, and he wore that jacket out until it was a really, really nothing but shreds. Wow, the sleeves were just horrible. He couldn't even put patches on it. It was just that bad. So he took it off one day and said, okay, I'm going to give it up. He put it on the table and he looked at it and said, what could I do with this jacket material, the rest of it? He said, I know. I'm going to make me a vest. He cut the sleeves out. He got the fabric together. He did some beautiful tapestry on the back, around the edges, about the front, and it was beautiful. Oh, my goodness. Woo! It was beautiful. He put that vest on. It was spring, getting ready to come summer. He put that vest on, and he walked outside in that vest, and he was looking good. Oh, my goodness. He was looking so good. Hey, where you get that vest from? Excuse me, my brother. Hey, where you get that vest from? That vest is nice. What, you made it? Oh, you made that? I want one. Oh, nice vest. Nice, hey, nice vest. Wow. He had that vest on, and he was looking so good, and he wore that vest. He wore that vest. He wore that vest out. But he was looking good in it until that time. But anyway, he wore that vest. So he took that vest off, and he put it on the table and said, what can I do with the fabric, the pieces that I have of this vest? He thought of an idea. He decided that he was going to measure his head, measure it well, and he made himself a cap. Ooh, that was a gorgeous cap. That cap had it going on. He measured it so well, he was walking around with that cap on, and you know what? He had a little strange hump in his head, but you know, that cap hid that hump, and you know, next thing you know, women are saying, hey, nice cap. How you doing? He didn't even need Match.com by that time. He was looking so good with that cap on. He was wearing that cap. He was wearing that cap. Hey, hey, where you get the cap from? Nice cap, my brother. What? You made, hey, okay. So now he's making coats. He's making jackets. He's making vests. And now he's making caps. Oh, my goodness. He had a business that was going on so well that he had hired extra people, and he needed a larger building. He was doing it, and he was, because of that cap, and he was walking around with that cap, and he had that cap on all summer. Yeah, it had a lot of sweat in it, you know what I'm saying? But he was wearing it, and you know what? He even got himself a mate from that cap. You know, by this time, she had just loved him. You know, it wasn't about the hump in his head, because that had been revealed. So he wore that cap, he wore that cap out until it was number of shreds and sweaty and a whole bit, you know. And so he took it off, and he said, now, what can I do with that? He thought about it. Great idea. He was going to make himself some buttons, some beautiful cover buttons. And he made himself a really nice light jacket for the fall and put these beautiful embossed buttons on the jacket. And he walked outside with those buttons and that new jacket, and everybody said, hey, my brother, nice jacket, but wow, those buttons got it going on. Where you get those buttons from, my brother? He said, I did these, you did those, you do buttons too? Oh my goodness. Gotta get it, gotta get me some buttons. I like the jacket too though. The buttons and the jacket, oh please, please. And he walked around, now he's making coats, he's making jackets, he's making vests, he's making hats, and now he's got a button business on the side. Oh my goodness, he was having a great time. And you know, he wore that jacket with them buttons so long that he wore them out. And the only thing left was this story.
The story I want to share with you at this time was a favorite story of Jackie Torrance. And as a tidbit of information, Jackie Torrance and my husband were high school classmates, so I feel very special for this story. The title of the story is How Brer Rabbit Outsmarted the Frogs. Brer Rabbit and Brer Possum were the best of friends. Every day, they would get up and go down to the river, and Brer Rabbit would catch him a whole bucket of fish, and Brer Possum would catch him a whole bag of frogs. The only thing about it is, Brer Possum couldn't swim, so he would have to take his toe sack on his back and grab the frogs before they jumped in the water and put them in his toe sack so he could take them home for his wife and his 15 children to eat for supper. Well, one day, the frogs got tired of Brer Possum eating up all their kinfolks. He said, every time Brer Possum come down here, they get our cousins, our brothers, our sisters, our aunts and uncles. What we're going to have to do, we're going to have to come up with a plan so Brer Possum won't be eating all of us. So they decided to have a frog council meeting. And in the frog council meeting, everybody was coming up with different ideas. So they finally settled on the idea. They said somebody needs to let us know when Brer Possum is coming so we can have time enough to hide. So they decided on Brer Bullfrog because he was the biggest, had the loudest voice, and he could see the best. So the next morning, Brer Bullfrog was at the beginning of the river. And sure enough, here come Brer Rabbit and Brer Possum. Brer Rabbit with his bucket and Brer Possum with his toe sack on the back for his frogs. And when they got within sight of the river, the bullfrog jumped up on a rock and said, here they come, here they come, here they come. And all the little frogs say, here they come, here they come, here they come. And all of the frogs jumped into the water. And when they got there, Brother Possum didn't see a frog anywhere. That afternoon, Brother Rabbit finished fishing, had him a whole bucket of fish. Brother Possum got home. All he had was this empty tow sack. His wife was at the door. And just where is our frogs for our dinner tonight? Brother Possum said, but honey, I couldn't catch no frogs. He said, as soon as the frogs saw me coming, they said, here he come, here he come. And all the little frogs said, here he come, here he come. He said, and they jumped in the river, honey, and I couldn't catch no frogs. Boy, Miss Frog was mad. She took her broom handle and she whacked Brother Possum across the head, put a big knot up on his head. And then she said, you're going to have to sleep outside because all our children are hungry and they don't have anything to eat. Poor Brother Possum. He goes out on the porch and he sleeps out there all night. The next morning, here comes Brother Rabbit on his way to the river. Whoa, Brother Possum, what you doing out here on the porch? He said, what? My wife hit me with the broom last night because I didn't have no frogs to feed our children. Brother Rabbit said, well, I was wondering why you look so down in the mouth. He said, Brother Possum, you know we've been friends for a long time. He said, what you need is a plan. Brother Possum said, Brother Rabbit, I don't know nothing about no plan. Brother Rabbit said, don't worry. I is the best planner that done ever planned a plan. He said, now I just want you to sit down for a minute while I think of a plan on how we can get some frogs. So Brother Rabbit took his right hind leg and scratched behind his right ear. And he got on this side. He took his left hind leg and he scratched behind his left ear. And he jumped up. He said, Brother Possum, I got it. I got our plan. He said, what I want you to do, he said, I want you to go down to that river and I want you to turn around and fall down and play like you dead. He said, and I don't want you to move till I tell you to move. You just lay there. So Brother Possum scratched his head. He said, I don't see how my laying down by the river gonna catch no frogs. Brother Rabbit said, just do what I tell you. Okay, Brother Rabbit. So Brother Possum got up. He goes on down to the river, right to the river bank. Frog saw him coming. Here he come, here he come, here he come. And the little frog said, here he come, here he come, here he come. All of them jumped in the water. Brother Possum get to the river bank. Oh, I think I'm gonna die. Oh, I'm so hungry. Oh, I got the heebie-jeebies. Oh, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. Oh, I'm gonna die. Brother Possum turned around 3 times. He fall on his back, just like the little feet sticking up in the air. Little frogs saw Brother Possum laying there. They started sticking their little heads up out of the water. Peep, peep, peep. They couldn't believe Brother Possum was dead. And they were looking. They were scared to come out. By that time, here come Brother Rabbit down the trail. Whoa! Brother Possum, why you laying there like that, Brother Possum? Brother Possum, is you sick? Brother Possum, what's wrong? Is you dead, Brother Possum? What's wrong with you? Brother Possum ain't moved. He lay there just like this. The flies crawled all over his face, up his nose and his ears. The mosquitoes were on it. The sun was hot. Sweat was rolling down on him. He didn't move. Brother Rabbit started crying. Oh, Lord. Oh, my best friend, my fishing buddy, my fishing buddy. He done gone and died on me. Oh, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? I just don't know what I'm gonna do without my best friend, my fishing buddy. And by this time, all the little frogs had jumped up because they didn't like to see nobody cry. And they was feeling sorry for Brother Rabbit. Bullfrog said, well, how can we help you, Brother Rabbit? Brother Rabbit said, I promised him if he died before I did, I would bury him. And I'm just too heartbroken to bury him. I just don't have the heart to bury my best friend. Frog said, we'll help you. He said, you will? All the frogs said, yes. He said, please, please, I just don't have the heart to bury my best friend. All the little frogs jumped back down in the river. They came back up, and every last one of them had a frog shovel. They made a circle around Brother Rabbit, and the frogs started digging, and they was throwing the dirt out, and throwing the dirt out, and throwing the dirt out. And every time they would throw the dirt out, Brother Possum would go a little deeper and a little deeper and a little deeper in the hole. After a while, got down about 5 feet deep in the hole. Brother Bullfrog jumped up on Brother Possum's belly. Is it deep enough? Is it deep enough? Is it deep enough? And all the little frogs say, is it deep enough? Is it deep enough? Is it deep enough? Brother Rabbit said, can you jump out? Brother Bullfrog said, yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. And all the little frogs say, yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Brother Rabbit said, no, dig a little deeper. The frogs, they started again. And they were digging as hard as they could with their little frog shovel. They was shoveling the dirt. This time they got down about 15 feet. Brother Bullfrog jumped up on Brother Possum's belly and said, is it deep enough? Is it deep enough? Is it deep enough? And all the little frogs said, is it deep enough? Is it deep enough? Is it deep enough? Brother Rabbit said, can you jump out? Brother Bullfrog said, believe we can, believe we can, believe we can. And all the little frogs said, believe we can, believe we can, believe we can. Brother Rabbit said, no, dig a little deeper. They started digging again. And they do, and they do, and they do. This time they got down to 15 feet. Brother Bullfrog jumped up on Brother Possum's stomach. Is it deep enough? Is it deep enough? Is it deep enough? And all the baby frogs said, is it deep enough? Is it deep enough? Is it deep enough? Brother Rabbit said, can you jump out? Brother Bullfrog said, no, we can't. No, we can't. No, we can't. And all the little frogs said, no, we can't. No, we can't. No, we can't. Brother Rabbit said, get up, Brother Possum, and put some frogs in your toe sack. Brother Possum jumped up. Man, he had frogs everywhere. He was throwing frogs in his sack. And after a while, he had so many frogs in his sack, he didn't think he was going to get out that hole. He had to get Brother Rabbit to pull him up out that hole. Boy, when Brother Possum got home that night, his wife met him at the door with a big smile and a big kiss, and all the children were happy. She went in there, and she took that whole bunch of frogs, and she went in there, and she made frog pizza, frog Kool-Aid, frog spaghetti, frog hamburgers, frog hot dogs, and they had a feast. In fact, she had enough frogs to put in the freezer for the next year.
I've never had frog pizza before, but I'm going to look around, see if there's a menu of it. But I want to stop right now to tell you, give you a little information of Sister Elsie's stories because of the fact that she has told stories from two of the great black female storytellers in the United States. You've told one from Augusta Baker, and you told the other one from Jackie Torrance, who is one of my favorites. So I love that you've done that, and what a great dedication to both of them. I really appreciate that. Well, this is my last story. And this one was inspired by the retelling from Ashley Bryant, and it's called The Dancing Granny. Well, let me tell you, Granny Anika was someone who has a love of life. And the thing she loved was music, and she loved to sing, and she loved to dance. She had so much joy every day. She got up and she sang, and she also loved to dance. But another thing that Granny Anika loved to do, she loved to plant in her garden. Oh, she had a farm. She had a great big farm that was so wonderful that they loved to hear her songs. And because they believed, the villagers believed, that because of her singing and her dancing, her plants came up sweeter and better than the rest. Well, you know what she was planting? She was planting greens, beans, potatoes, tomatoes. Oh, my. She had them all. She loved it. She loved it. And so she had planted them. And so now it was time to start picking. Well, she started picking some of them. She started picking up her greens. Ooh, ooh, ooh. She was picking them. And all of a sudden, out behind a rock, there was Nancy. Nancy was looking around that rock, and he knew he loved him some greens. And he said, I know when she hears some good music, she is gone. So next thing you know, he started, uh-oh, Granny Nika. Oh, she started dancing. Oh, she was getting into the songs, and Anansi's music was so mesmerizing. Oh, next thing you know, she started dancing, and she danced all the way to the west. Oh, my goodness, she danced a while. And Anansi, while she was gone, he picked them greens. He picked them greens. He picked all the greens, and then he took them to the house. Well, his wife was so happy. Wife and her mother, they got in the kitchen. They cleaned the greens. You know, they did all of that. And they cooked them greens. They had green pizza. They had green spaghetti. They had greens tacos. And they put some in the freezer. Oh, they had a great time. That night, bellies, full. Well, Granny Nika had stopped sometime before the sunset. And she, what happened? Where am I? Well, she had to walk back home. She walked back home only to discover her greens were gone. What? What happened? Well, she still had a lot of joy because she still had enough food to take care of everything. So she went to bed. Well, the next morning, she woke up. She was singing. She was happy. She had joy. She didn't care about the greens because she still had more food. So all of a sudden, she was singing and having a great time, and there were the beans. And the beans were right there, and she started picking them, putting them in a basket. Picking them, putting them in a basket. Oh, look at that. That's a good one. Look at that size of that one. Picking them and putting them in a basket. Just, she had a good time. But Anansi was then behind a bush. He was behind a bush, and he was saying, we're going to be doing some beans tonight. So next thing you know, Anansi started another song. Uh-oh. Oh, Granny Nika. Oh, Granny Nika. Ooh, she was having, ooh. She couldn't take it. Next thing you know, she started dancing, and she was dancing to the east. Oh, she kept going. She kept going. Oh, Granny Nika kept going. While she was gone, that old Anansi picked up the basket that she had dropped while dancing and picked up and finished picking all those beans. Oh, those beans were just, bushel full. Took them to his wife. She and her mother snapped some beans. Y'all remember snapping them beans? I remember snapping them beans. You snap them and pull that string and snap them. Great memory with my mother. Anyway, so he was doing those beans and snapping them. They put them in there, and they put, in the water, and good soaked salt and pepper and whatever meat, because I don't do meat. So whatever meat it was in there, that's what they did, and they made those greens so well. They made them with pizza. They made them spaghetti. They even had cookies by this time. And they put some in the freezer. But that night when they ate, belly full. Oh, my goodness. Oh, well, Granny Nika stopped. It was sunset by the time she stopped. And she said, what happened? Oh, my goodness. So she had to walk home in the dark. She was like, what? I got carried away. I don't know what it was. It was a spell. Woo. And she got home and she looked, and her beans now were gone. Oh, no. Oh, my goodness. What happened? What did I do while I was dancing? Well, she knew she had potatoes, and she still had tomatoes. So she was okie dokie. So she went to bed, had a good night's sleep, and she got up, and she had joy. She was so happy just to be up. She was humming and having a good day. Sun was shining. Oh, my goodness. And you know what today was? Today was Potato Day. Woo! So she was on her knees because, you know, you got to get in because potatoes are in the ground. So she got down on her knees and started digging just a little bit, and those potatoes were coming up, and she was pulling them and pulling them. But you know what? That Anansi, he was hiding behind a tree. He was hiding and looking, and he was ready. He was ready for those potatoes. Woo! He was salivating, just thinking about what they were going to have for dinner. So next thing you know, he started humming again. Uh-oh. Granny Nika got up off her knees. And she was gone. She was gone. She had gone all the way going to the north. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. And while she was gone, Anansi brought two of his kids. They started pulling up. No, they didn't have those frog shovels like she did. They were pulling up. They were pulling up all the potatoes and put them in the baskets, and they were gone home. Woo-hoo! Anansi's wife and mother-in-law, they scrubbed potatoes. They peeled potatoes. They had mashed potatoes, French fries, potatoes au gratin. They had potatoes on their pizza too. They sure did. And they made some potato cookies. But they had so many potatoes, they did put them in the freezer. But that night, woo-hoo, they still had a little bit of greens and beans, and they had potatoes, belly full. Well, by the time Granny Nika, by the time she realized it was past sunset, and sunset was gone, and she finally stopped. What? Oh my gosh. What? What is going on? She drug herself home, because that was a far. She went far. She drug herself home. She got what? There was number holes in the ground. All the potatoes were gone. Oh my goodness. Okay. Granny Nika figured out what was going on. She said she knows it ain't nobody but that old no good Anansi who's doing all of that mess. Okay. Well, you know what? Granny Nika loved her some tomatoes. Now, that was her favorite thing. She loved tomato bisque, tomato salad. You know, she loved everything. She liked them fried green tomatoes, too. She had a thing about tomatoes. So she wasn't going to get her tomatoes. So she started thinking. She had a plan. And so she went to bed with a smile on her face because she knew what she was going to do in the morning. So Granny Nika slept, got up because she still had joy. And she also had a plan. And she got up, and she was happy, and she was singing, and she was going out and acting like she didn't even know that he was there, because now she picked it up because he was up in a tree. So she got her basket, started picking just one or two tomatoes, act like she was really going to do it. Next thing I know, Anansi started with the song. Oh, Granny Nika. Oh, but she couldn't help it. But first thing she did, she went over to the tree and bumped it. And when she did that bumped it. And when she did that, bumped it. And when she did that last bump, Anansi fell down. She grabbed Anansi and she started dancing. And she danced with Anansi and they danced together. And they went all the way to the south. And you know what? She left them there. And when Granny Anika got home, all she knew was she still had her tomatoes.
I really liked your story. Title of this story is The Silly Farmer. And it's from a collection by Harold Kurlander. And I especially like this story. Zahid was a farmer that lived in Ethiopia. And one day while he was out farming, his wife came out to the field. She was all excited. She said, honey, we're going to have a baby. We're going to have a baby. And Zahid was so excited, he threw down the hammer, picked up his wife, and gave her a big hug. He said, oh, that's wonderful, honey. That's wonderful. What kind of baby you going to have? She said, I don't know. He said, well, we can't have a baby unless we know what kind of baby we're going to have. He said, I know. I'll go ask the wise old lady who lives at the edge of the village. I'll be back, honey. He runs in the house, reaches his hand in the mattress, and pulls out a gold coin that he had been saving. He said, I'll go down there and ask the wise old lady in the village what kind of baby we're going to have. So he walked and walked and walked and walked and walked. And near the end of the day, sure enough, he came to the wise old lady that was sitting right by her hut at the end of the village. He said, ma'am, I need a little help with a desperate situation. He said, my wife just announced to me that she's going to have a baby, and we don't know what kind of baby she's going to have. I'll give you this gold coin if you can tell me what kind of baby my wife is going to have. The old woman looked at Zahid. She just grunted. She had a box right beside her. She opened the box and took out 3 old ancient bones. And she threw the bones in the air. And when they fell back down on the ground, they had made a strange pattern. And she looked at the bones and she said, And Zahid said, The lady said, ah. Zahid said, ah. An old woman said, but of course. And Zahid said, but of course. She said, now give me the gold coin. I'll tell you what kind of baby your wife gonna have. He gave her the gold coin. And she said, your wife is gonna have a boy or a girl. He said, oh, thank you. We were so worried. We didn't know what kind of baby my wife was going to have. So he ran home as fast as he could, ran in the house. Honey. The wise old lady told us what kind of baby we going to have. She said we're going to have a boy or a girl. And the wife jumped up, and they were so happy because they knew they were going to have a boy or a girl. Well, a few weeks later, sure enough, the wife gave birth to a bouncing baby girl. That's as cute as she could be. Zahid said, well, what are we going to name her? The wife said, I don't know. Zahid said, well, we want a special name for her, something dynamic and pretty and special because she's so pretty. He said, I know. I go back to the wise old lady in the village. I got another gold coin. So he goes to the mattress and pull out another gold coin. And he walks and walks and walks the next day, and halfway that afternoon, he got to the old lady who was still sitting there. He said, ma'am, you remember me? I was here a few months ago. He said, I got another situation I want you to help us with. And the lady said, all right. He said, can you tell us what we need to name our baby? We want something special. So once again, the old lady, she picked up the box. She took these 3 bones out of the box. She threw them in the air. When they fell down on the ground, they made a pattern. And she looked at the bones and she said, And Zahid said, And she said, ah. And Zahid said, ah. Then she said, but of course. And Zahid said, but of course. And the old lady said, give me the gold coin, and I'm going to whisper the baby's name in the palm of your hand. So he gave her the gold coin, and the old lady whispered into Zahid's hand. She said, now close your hands real tight, and don't open your hands till you get home. She said, and when you get home, you'll have the baby's name. Zahid was so happy. He had the baby's first name and last name in his hands, and he went running home fast as he could. Well, just before he got to his hut, there were some farmers there who had dropped a bale of hay on the road. And Zahid was running so fast, he accidentally slipped and fell right into that bale of hay. And of course, when he fell, he had to put his hand out to break his fall, and his hands opened. He said, oh no, I've lost my baby's name. I've lost the name. I had my baby's name in my hand. Y'all gonna have to help me find it. So all the farmers took their shovels, and they were all raking through the hay on their hands and knees, looking for the baby's name that had fallen out of Zahid's hand. About this time, another lady came down the road. She said, what in the world are y'all looking for? Zahid said, I went to the old lady in the village, and she whispered my baby's name in my hand. He said, but I fell, and I lost the baby's name that she whispered in my hand. I lost it in this hay. The woman said, nonsense. Simply nonsense. Zahid said, oh, that's my baby's name. Thank you, thank you. He ran home as fast as he could. He grabbed his wife. He said, guess what? The old lady told me our baby's name. Our baby's name is nonsense. Simply nonsense.
Again, they had a chance to name that baby Rowena. I want to thank all who have watched today, and I hope that you will look at it again, share it, send it to friends, because it will be on our page for a while. We want to thank you for visiting with us. We also want to tell you that please become a member of the Columbia Museum of Art, as well as please become a member of FAAAC. We are really looking for members. We hope that we're going to have, well, not hope, but we are going to have many more programs, many more wonderful programs, almost every other month, basically, but we're doing some great things here in Columbia. So FAAAC, which is Friends of African American Arts and Culture, our membership is not that much, but look on the Columbia Museum of Art website and you can see it. And we hope that you'll come back the next time we have an event. So thank you all for being great listeners. We have had a great time, and we've basically finished up this hour pretty well. So thank you, Miss Elsie White. We appreciate you so much. Thank you, Wilson Baines, for being a great cinematographer, videographer, whatever, and also friend. But thank you all, and take care, and have a wonderful Martin Luther King Day. Celebrate it well.